Hello, everybody. It's lovely to be here with you this afternoon. A sunny afternoon, I was saying, here in Wales, which doesn't happen too often, and it's absolutely glorious today. So I know I've spoken in a couple of different places in terms of our journey with AI over the last couple of years. But today, this is going to specifically concentrate more on the work we're doing around the AI assessment scale. As ever, if you have come across sort of like chats before, I'm always open to collaboration, always open to questions and discussions. So I did pop my email in the chat. So if you want to get in touch, please do, and anything to do to help and support and learn from everybody in this awesome community would be absolutely fantastic. So where did this part of the work start? I run the AI Informal Network UK, which started as a little offshoot group in Wales and is now UK-wide, which is really awesome. And we are a little informal rogue group of people who come together and kind of just have discussions, safe space discussions around AI in education. And one of the sessions that we had back in October, we actually invited Leon Furs in, who has designed an AI assessment scale. If you aren't familiar, you must start professionally stalking him on LinkedIn because he's brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic. And one of the things with Leon that has particularly, I suppose, why I really enjoy what he does is because he is incredibly generous. So he's giving his AI assessment scale to everybody. He's encouraging you to change it and make it your own. He is very open to you giving him feedback and working with you, and all just because he really believes in it. And I just think that's really, really awesome, where, a lot of AI's got quite money focused, and it's just a very genuine desire to help education figure this all out. So I can't recommend him enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you his version of the scale. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the pilot that we've got currently up and running. And then I'm going to share with you our plan for rollout in August, and then a couple of other little bits and bobs around. Thank you, Mary, sharing Leon there. He's absolutely brilliant. So if I give you that little overview, and then we can come back or just stop me as we're going through and asking questions. So I'm going to share my screen. I have to apologise. I also am at home and have two very sad cockapoo dogs in my kitchen who are utterly frustrated with me that they're not in here because that's what they wanted to do. So apologies if you hear them whining in the background. So this is Leon Furs' version of the assessment scale, which I'm sure most of you, if not all of you on this call, have probably seen before. And I think the most important thing I want to stress about his scale is that he removes all negativity from conversation around AI and assessment. And I just love that. So he doesn't talk about plagiarism. He doesn't talk about cheating. He doesn't talk about processes and disciplinaries and all of those things that I think most people get drawn into in this space. He talks about it as a very positive process, a positive learning process. And I think the thing I love the most about it is when he's talking about assessment, he talks about it from the perspective of validity of assessment. I think it puts the onus on, actually, yes, we can talk about learners' use of AI, but if we haven't created assessment fit for this educational landscape as it is today, then the reality is we're not providing valid assessment opportunities. So it's thinking about getting teachers, getting us as leaders to think about, are we putting the right type of assessment in front of our learners? I mean, we've all been there in the classroom and perhaps utilised an assignment brief a few too many times, one that's perhaps been around a long time that is a good go-to. But this process has been really helping us to talk to our staff about the validity of the assessments that they are putting in front of their learners and getting them to rethink and reshape. Now, the elephant in the room is that there's a lot of stakeholders involved in assessment. So there are things that you might say, well, we can't change this or that because it comes from the sort of the exam board or it's a particular policy. So this is very much looking at, well, what can we do in our space in order to improve this and to make it clearer? And then hopefully that learning will filter all the way up through the education system in order for us as a society really to get brave in really tackling assessment and how we can move it forward. So this document that I'm sharing with you, if you sign up to his website, this then gets sent to you as a free download. And it just goes through each level of the scale, which I won't do in detail here. And it gives you examples of what that might look like for each level of the scale. And I think the key thing for this is making sure that this really means something to the learners in order to help them understand what these different levels entail and what that might look like in a final submission. And I think what's really key with this type of development is that when we talk about malpractice and when we talk about plagiarism and all of those things, what I think we can do is that sometimes we actually don't have a solid foundation from which to make those assessment decisions as to whether somebody has overstepped the mark with AI. You might have a gut feeling, you might have an assumption that they have, but actually what this does, this process, is it makes it really clear whether it's no AI or that they can use every AI tool going from the outset before a moment has been spent on an assignment. You're able to say, this is what will allow you to use AI for, and this only, which means then you've got a bit of transparency, you've got a bit of open conversation, and then you've got a benchmark to work from when that work comes in to go, actually, I think you might have done a little bit more than ideas and structures. I think you've actually used this for editing, so on and so forth. So it gives a little bit of security in having some of those conversations with learners where you fear that malpractice may have occurred. So it's got multiple benefits. So that's the original scale. And now I'm going to bring you to our pilot that we're doing. So we started this pilot back in February, and we have tried to address lots of different groups across the institution. Now, this is a work in progress as the pilot is still live at the moment, so I hope you don't mind. I'm not presenting final polished slides to you, but just an insight really as to how it's going. So I tried to identify as many different levels of learners across the institution as possible. It was really important to me that it didn't just get focused on one area, that we were able to actually see how robust it was across the different levels of learners. So that was really instrumental in deciding how we started the pilot. And then each member of staff who willingly signed up, essentially what we asked them to do was to create an informative or formative assessment activity where this scale could be tested. So we didn't want them testing anything on summative work, only on formative, so that they could generate an assignment situation, build in the scale, the learners carry out the work, submit it, mark it, but the impact is not impacting the final submission mark at all because it's just a standalone exercise. And I think that put a lot of people's mind at ease in order to be able to test it, which was really great. Some of them then actually generated some little mock assignment briefs for me, which was really useful. So then that brings me to this. So this is our version of the scale. One of the things that was really interesting when I started to share this with teachers is that they weren't so keen on the original colours. I at first didn't think too much about this, but it's funny, isn't it? This is why it's so important to run these ideas through as many people as possible, is because the red and green automatically suggested stop, go, and it has all those sort of like connotations of right and wrong connected to it. So we went tropical with our colours and we mixed it up, and actually the students really like the colours, which is quite nice. So this is what our scale looks like, and essentially the staff will copy and paste this onto any assignment brief that they're doing, and they're able to just then select yes or no appropriately to the assessment that they're giving out, to clearly state whether a learner can or can't do if it's no AI, ideas, structure, editing, or full AI. And then what we did to go with that is we created a learner resource. So I'm going to open this one. So this is what our sort of like our more fancy version looks like. 1 second, it's just loading. Okay. So alongside the little scale on their assignment brief is a link then to this. Now, this was the first version of this I've done, and since the pilot's been developing, I've actually changed it into something a little bit more comprehensive, which I'm going to show you in a second. But this sort of really lays thick the point of what these different scales levels mean and what is expected. One of the things we've been really passionate about in our institution is being as transparent and open with the learners as possible, to keep the conversation out in the open and not to push it underground. We really want them to feel like they can ask us about AI and they can talk to us about it, and vice versa with the staff, to really sort of build mutual confidence, I suppose. And then underneath, and to give some examples of how that might look in a particular assignment. So this was given out to the learners as well. So that's what they had access to. They had the scale on their assignment brief, and then the link to the examples of what that may or may not look like. So then they've cracked on and they've been doing the work over the last couple of months. The learners then submit the work and it gets marked. And I just wanted to show you a little bit of the feedback that we've had so far from some of the learners. So as I said, this is a work in progress. People are still doing this at the moment, but it's really positive, I'm so pleased to say. So over 90% said that the AI assessment scale helped them to understand how they're allowed to use AI. And then we've got nearly 100% saying that the assessment scale was clear in explaining the right way to use AI in assessments. And then it made them, more confident. We're looking in the mid-80s there, which is really great as well in terms of positive response. And then it's sort of the most useful in terms of the color coding, the structure. The colors came out a few times, which was really lovely. And it's just being a very clear and useful guide and clarification as to what they can and couldn't do, rather than it being this mystery where nobody really knows what is and what isn't acceptable. So this, as I say, work in progress, but it's really given us some confidence to know that this is something that we want to pursue right across our organisation. And obviously, like you all in FE, you are talking right across FE, work-based learning, schooling, up to HE, all of those areas, and want there to be a nice consistent approach. And we feel with the language that we're using around our version of the assessment scale, we feel quite confident in what that looks like. So where does that lead us to? Well, what we are doing now, let me get my right tab. I wanted to share this with you before I go into the learning programs. So I kind of wanted to pull together where we're at. As I say, I've spoken quite a few times in different forums about our journey with AI. And I'm really proud of it. Lots of bumps along the way, lots of learning, but this is where we're at as of now. So for our staff, all of our staff have access to Gemini, Edpuzzle, Canva, and are encouraged to use ChatGPT. All support staff, including academic and business support, complete our own in-house built enhancement not replacing e-learning package. We've got an AI toolkit, an AI policy, which I'm really proud of. In the early days when people were sort of like shying away from any policy work, we just launched ourselves at it and thought, right, let's just give it a go. And it is quite funny, we're on version 3 now, which we've just had approved by our board, and I look back at version 1 and you can just see it's so wildly different. But we believe in 4 particular focuses with AI. Well, firstly, it's enhancement, not replacement. We really believe in that, and that stands for jobs, that stands for learning, that stands for culture, people. Enhancement, not replacement. That's what we believe in. And then our 4 pillars that sit under that is the ethical use of AI, the safe use of AI, the innovative use of AI, and the effective use of AI. And the theory around those being, if we only ever focus on ethics and safety, we will not be innovative. And if we only focus on innovation, you will cross ethical boundaries. So in our mind, those 4 pillars need to be developed together, and everything that we've made around AI is built with that at its core. It's a bit like my benchmark, I suppose, when we're testing new ideas, new thinking, strategies, tools. Those 4 things I come back to and really check ourselves against them. So we've got lots of different generative AI supporting documents that cover sort of supporting malpractice, and just a few words on malpractice. I see us as we're the educators, aren't we? We're the safe space for learners to experiment with what they can and can't do. We're the place where they get to test those ideas, and then us to support them in learning if they get it wrong. And I think if we only ever go down those consequence processes of learners making mistakes, then we're doing them a disservice. So we really believe in a safe environment for them to explore what this means for them and their learning. And the reality is, we've just been doing some learner voice conferences. They're quite scared of it, which is really interesting. I didn't expect that to be the feedback that we got quite consistently across all of our 7 campuses. They're quite nervous about it. And worried in terms of getting in trouble. So, you know, we're the educators. We've got to teach them how to do this. We've also got a leadership bot that's up and running for our curriculum managers. And that's just the beginning of the bot work, really. We've got a couple of things in the pipeline around numeracy and literacy, which we're really excited about. So then all staff have access to wraparound professional learning and coaching to support the development and their use and understanding of AI. We have a dedicated teaching and learning roles. We've got a generative AI and digital learning lead working with myself on AI. And then we've got access to our digital upskilling through the EdTech pathway, industry pathway, and learning opportunities through the AI informal network that we run. You know, and I have to be honest, this has all come from just one 90-minute session with Leon Furs, particularly for the assessment scales. So it's been so valuable. So let's move to the learners. So this is where we are on our journey with the learners. Now, in the early days, a lot of people were running at the learner space, and we decided not to. We just focused on staff in the first instance. So this is the next step for us, where we're really giving a process to our learners in order to positively engage with AI. So all learners will sign consent around AI in enrolment in August, and we've decided that our consent process is going to cover 2 perspectives. So the learner is consenting to engage with us on learning how to use AI ethically, safely, innovatively, effectively. So they sign up to that. We also felt it was important that they confirm their acknowledgement that staff will be using AI to enhance the teaching and learning environment. Now, we are not dipping into marking at the moment. That's not something that we are exploring at this stage. But we are encouraging our staff to use it to enhance learning, the learning environment. So we felt that those 2 elements of consent were really, really important. Now, we're a little bit lucky in that we're Gemini because we're Google, which means that our consent level is 13. So I know for some people that Copilot, I think, is 18, or it was last time I was reading. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility than perhaps if you're using Copilot. So all of our learners will have access to Gemini through their college accounts. All learners then will complete the Think Smart, Learn Smart programme, which is an in-house e-learning package that I've just built in order to give them more support to understand the different levels in a more interactive and practical way. So both of these courses that have been designed for staff and learners are very much about having the learning program open and their Gemini. So there's lots of prompts and tips and tricks in each of those learning programs relevant to the person completing it to put into Gemini so that they can actually learn in real time and from their own experience. So we've just got that for learners, which will be rolled out in induction when they start with us. We've also got, which has been running this year, we have our tutorial program, the Be Curious tutorial sessions. So in there is an AI focus session, which is designed from level 1 through to work-based learning, FE, and up to HE as well. So again, just different perspectives on AI relevant to their level of study. All assignment briefs from September will have the assessment scale clearly identified, with the following on from the learning programme that they'll have done. And then when learners submit their work, they will all sign their declarations, which they do already, but we will have an extra line in there that says, I have adhered to the AI assessment scale. And I'm hoping that that then is the magic that closes the loop, and then just gives us a very clear structure of ethics and safety, the scale, the signing off, but also the learning and the innovation, the creativity through the sort of the learning programs that we've got in place. So just before I finish very quickly, so this is our learning program, and each of these click then into a video. No, I should have opened one of these in advance, so I might be, these are in draft form at the moment, actually. This particular one is in version 1, so it's typo-tastic, but it's getting there. But it's just a really nice, learner-friendly. No sound on these at the moment, so you're not missing anything at the moment. Just scooch it along a little bit. So all the information in this is specific to the structure level of the scale. And it just goes on, and it then gives them some prompts to put into. Shift it on a bit. And then they open up their Gemini. I haven't tweaked all my timings yet, so this slide is a little bit long. There's some kind of talks them through how to do it. There we go. Oh, almost there. And then it gives them some suggestions then of prompts to pick up and put into Gemini specifically for this one. So that's the learner-facing one. And then the staff-facing one is this one, and it's got a similar structure, welcome video. And then each of these 4 modules are focused on ethical, safe, innovative, and effective use of AI. And again, it's practical in that it gives a little bit of information, gives an activity to do in whichever. This is not written for Gemini, this is written for any AI platform. And then they're able to have a go, do some reflection, get some top tips, that kind of thing. So that kind of is where we're at the moment. I'm going to come back to you. I have so many tabs open. Let me see if I can even find you. Yes, I think I'm back with you. We are still massively learning, so much learning still going on. And it's a case of we're kind of, I think, taking the learners with us now is our next big step. And I know a lot of places have been doing that already, but for us, I guess I was really keen to just do it when we were ready, and feel really confident now about what we're going to go in and do in August, and really excited about it. With the 2 learning programs, if anybody wants to have more information or find out a little bit though about those, or you know, whether you want to kind of have a conversation about exploring access, then that's something I'd be willing to have a conversation about. But yeah, that's us.